Hello students, welcome to the Pole Science of class 9, and today we will start with a new topic from the same chapter, that is constitutional design, and today's topic is the Constituent Assembly. So let us proceed then. Who then were the makers of the Indian Constitution? You will find here a very brief sketch of some of the leaders who played an important role in making the Constitution. So as I told you earlier that the Constituent Assembly were actually comprising of the national leaders, or you can say many freedom fighters were also there, who actually helped India to get freedom from the hands of the British. So we need to know the names of few persons who were actually involved in making the Constitution. So let us see, some pictures are given starting from Rajendra Prasad. That is 1884 to 1963. That means born in this date, and he died in 1963. He was the president of the Constituent Assembly. Clear? Then coming to next picture is Jaspal Singh. That was Jharkhand sportsman and educationist. Clear? He was also a prime member, or you can say an important member in the formation of Constitution, and he was included in the Constituent Assembly. Then following H.C. Mukherjee. He was the vice chairman of the Constituent Assembly. Then fourthly, G. Durgabai Deshmukh. Clear? She was also part of Constituent Assembly. And Baldev Singh, who was a nominee of the Congress in the Constituent Assembly. That means what? From the Congress side, he was the one person that was actually included in the Constituent Assembly that will work for preparing the Indian Constitution. So as it was written that some sketches are there, that means some pictures are there, so we have gone through that. After that, the drafting of the document called the Constitution was done by an assembly of elected representatives called the Constituent Assembly. So whatever drafting was done, or you can say that whatever work was done in preparing the Constitution was actually done by whom? Was actually done by the elected representatives, and that elected representatives were actually from the Constituent Assembly. And some pictures of the leaders we have seen just now. Apart from that also many leaders were there, but whatever the elected representatives from the Constituent Assembly were actually elected, they were only contributing in the formation of the Constitution. Clear? Elections to the Constituent Assembly were held in July 1946. So whatever the members were there, they were actually elected representatives. That means what? They had fought elections, and after that they were actually elected in this Constituent Assembly. So elections to this Constituent Assembly were held in July 1946. Its first meeting was held in December 1946. So that means nearly after 5 or 6 months, its first meeting was held. After these elected representatives were actually there, or you can say that they were included in the Constituent Assembly, after these elections of July 1946, the first meeting was held after 5 or 6 months in December 1946. Soon after, the country was divided into India and Pakistan. So as they were holding their first meeting, during that time only, India and Pakistan was actually divided. Clear? The Constituent Assembly was also divided into the Constituent Assembly of India and that of Pakistan. So earlier it was that country was altogether known as India, where many areas or many provinces of Pakistan also was there. But as the first meeting was held in December 1946, during that time only the country was divided into two parts, that is India and Pakistan. So as the country was divided into India, Pakistan, the Constituent Assembly was also divided after that. and that Constituent Assembly was, after dividing, or after it was divided, it was known as the Constituent Assembly of India and that of Pakistan respectively. Clear? The Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution had 299 members. So these are very important points regarding short question and answer, or might be objective types of questions may also come. So as our constitution was prepared, so how many members were actually involved in that Constituent Assembly? They were actually 299 members exactly, and they were all the elected representatives in this Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution. Remember, try to remember this. The Assembly adopted the Constitution on 26th November 1949. That means, you can see, after the elections in July 1946 and after its first meeting, they had worked continuously for the making of Indian Constitution, and finally on this date, that was 26th November 1949, it came into effect. That means the Constitution of India was ready by that time. Clear? The Assembly, that means the Constituent Assembly adopted this Constitution on 26th November 1949, but it came into effect on 26th January 1950. That means almost after 2 months after it was actually adopted. That means they had adopted this Constitution on November 26th, and they made this Constitution into effect on 26th January 1950 after 2 months. To mark this day, we celebrate January 26 as Republic Day every year. So in order to mark what? In order to mark that the Indian Constitution was actually came into effect on 26 January 1950. For that reason only we celebrate Republic Day every year on this date. That means January 26. So before 1950, 26 January 1950, India was an independent country, but now India is known as the Republic of India, and we, in order to mark this, we celebrate every year as Republic Day on 26 January 1950. So try to memorize this thing, which may come as a short question and answer in your exam also. After that, why should we accept the Constitution made by this Assembly more than 50 years ago? So one question is asked that whatever the Constitution was actually finally made and it came into effect on 1950, that means almost you can say that if we calculate the present year, that is 2020, that means you can say that the Constitution was made 70 years ago. So why should we accept actually, which was actually made 50 years, actually it is written that 50 years, so calculating the present time it would be like 70 years. So why should we follow that actually? We have already noted one reason above. The Constitution does not reflect the views of its members alone. So why should we follow? The number one justification that is given is that whatever the 299 members were there, if you remember, so this Constitution does not reflect that 299 members views actually, but this Constitution reflects what? All the people living in this country. That means 135 crore people are there, and this Constitution is granting equality to all these people. So this Constitution does not actually reflect the views of that 299 members only. That reflects the views of what? All the people living in India. It expresses a broad consensus of its time. That means it represents what? A broad consensus. That means a broader agreement is there. That means the people have actually agreed to abide by the Constitution. All people living in India have a belief in this Constitution. Many countries of the world have had to rewrite their Constitution afresh because the basic rules were not accepted to all the major social groups or political parties. So apart from India, except each and every country has their own Constitution, but taking example, some countries were also there where Constitution was actually written and it came into effect also, But after that also, that constitution was forced to rewrite. That means again that was forced, that constitution whatever came into effect in some of the countries were again forced to rewrite. And what was the reason for rewriting actually? Because some basic rules, whatever the basic rules and basic rights were to be given to the people, that were not included in that constitution. So in that type of countries, the constitution was again forced to be rewritten. Clear? In some other countries, the constitution exists as a mere piece of paper. Clear? Some countries in the world have a history that their constitution was rewritten, that means twice or thrice. And some countries that have a constitution has also example like that. A constitution is there for the country, but it is in a piece of paper. That means what? In a book there are rules and regulation, but in reality it is not followed. That means if suppose say that in a particular country a constitution is written where rules and regulations are there, rights are there, being written clearly in the constitution, but that things are not followed in real life. So some examples are like that also. No one actually follows it. The experience of our constitution is different. Over the last half a century, several groups have questioned some provisions of the constitutions. But when we come to compare our constitution, that is the Constitution of India, our constitution has a different story. And over last half a century, several groups have questioned some provisions. Provisions, you can say that some amount of thing that these several groups are actually questioning. According to this several groups, they are questioning about the activities, or you can say some rights that are not included, or if these are included, they are questioning them. But no large social group or political party has ever questioned the legitimacy of the constitution itself. But you can say that some groups have questioned, not on a regular basis, but sometimes they have questioned about the provisions. But other than that, no large social group or political party has ever questioned the legitimacy of the constitution itself. That means they have not, many large social group or many political parties are there, they have never questioned the justification of the constitution itself. That means they have not actually doubted the things or provisions that are included in the constitution. They all have belief in these constitutions, and according to that only the country is being ruled. So they have never asked such a question. This is an unusual achievement for any constitution, and this is what, apart from, you can say that several groups have questioned, but not large groups are not there, political parties are not there. Sometimes or the other, some groups have questioned, but apart from that, none have raised question about the legitimacy, or you can say that justification related to the constitution. So this is an unusual achievement for any constitution, because in a country like India with 135 crores of people, we have full belief and faith in the constitution of our country, and we have not ever questioned about the legitimacy of this Indian constitution. Clear? So with this I will wind up today's topic. So before winding up, let's take a quick recap actually what we read today regarding the Constituent Assembly. First, we had tried to know about the people who were actually involved. There are pictures of 5 persons starting from Rajendra Prasad, Jaipal Singh, H.C. Mukherjee, G. Durgabai Deshmukh, Baldev Singh. But if you remember, there were in total 299 persons that were the elected representatives of the Constituent Assembly, and these 299 persons were actually responsible for making the Indian Constitution. So after that we read about how the members were actually elected, and was actually the Constituent Assembly was formed in accordance with that, when the elections to these elected representatives were held in July 1946 and its first meeting was held in December 1946. So during that time only India and Pakistan got divided. So the Constituent Assembly also got divided into two parts. That was the Constituent Assembly of India and the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. Clear? After that, after 3 long years, the assembly, that means the Constituent Assembly, finally adopted the Constitution. On which date? The date was 26 November 1949. But it did not came into effect at this particular date. It came into effect after 2 months exactly, and that was on 26 January 1950. And to mark this date only, we are celebrating Republic Day every year. Clear? Then we read about the constitution of several countries other than India, where the constitution was rewritten just for the reason that it had not included the basic rights. And in some countries the constitution was there, but it was there only in the papers. That means what? In reality, whatever the things that were included in the constitution were actually not followed. Apart from that, we also read about how the constitution of India is different from the other countries' constitution, because other than raising questions, several groups have raised questions over some of the provisions, but as a whole you can say that no large scale groups, or you can say that no political parties have ever questioned the legitimacy of the Indian Constitution, by which we can actually say that this is one of the most unique achievement, or you can say that is one of the most unusual achievement for any constitution, because it's running from the past 70 years and we the people of India have full faith in our constitution, and we are abiding by that constitution only till date. That means from 70 years we the people of India are actually following it. So whatever the points I have made you discuss regarding the Constituent Assembly, I hope that it is very much clear in your mind about these points. So with this I will wind up today's topic. Thank you.